Race weekend is finally upon us after several weeks of break, and of course with it a barrage of accusations, speculations and a host of other mind game tactics. One of those accused happened to be the Mercedes team, who once again are in the centre of attention due to their aggressive upgrade plan for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Many teams including Alpine and McLaren brought decent upgrades, but what Mercedes brought is sure to raise some eyebrows. Join us as we take a look at what upgrades the teams will bring to the table in Azerbaijan this week. One thing to come out of this long break is a new sprint format for this season. It may appear unusual for confirmation to arrive just before the race weekend commences, but an exhilarating new sprint format has been officially approved by the FIA's World Motorsport Council after several weeks of deliberation. All teams concurred that adjustments were necessary to enhance the format, as Saturday morning's FP2, under park firm conditions, was not especially significant, and drivers and teams were occasionally cautious during the sprint to avoid jeopardizing Sunday's Grand Prix. A new format has been unanimously accepted, which substitutes FP2 with another qualifying session, the Sprint Shootout, to determine the sprint's grid, while Friday's qualifying will set the Grand Prix's starting order. This renders Saturday an independent day, with the sprint's results having no influence on the following day's race, enabling drivers to compete without the worry of major consequences. Saturday's qualifying follows a similar Q1, Q2, Q3 structure, but with reduced timeframes of 12, 10 and 8 minutes respectively. This could result in only one attempt in Q3 during the sprint shootout. Additionally, teams must exclusively use new medium tyres in Q1 and Q2 on Saturday and new softs in Q3. Friday's qualifying session remains the same, and the points distribution will be unchanged, with the top 8 earning points in the sprint. However, even though there's a new sprint format, it will certainly not be the main talking point of the weekend, as I, and I believe all of you, are eager to see all of the new upgrades the teams will bring. Alpine and McLaren promise the most, but we cannot leave behind the higher teams on the grid, one of which, Mercedes, is sure to make headlines on race day. More on that later on in the video. Alpine is set to unveil its first major upgrade of the 2023 Formula One season at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, which Chief Technical Officer Pat Fry characterizes as a substantial improvement. Alpine's in-season enhancements thus far have been relatively minor, including a low-drag beam wing employed in Jeddah and a new vane attached to the halo fairing in Australia. Alpine has fielded the fastest car in the midfield this season, but converting that advantage into results has proven challenging. Fry believes Alpine needs to gain an additional 4 to 5 tenths of a second to solidify its position in the fight behind Red Bull. Their results so far this season have been limited to minor points finishes, with the best result Esteban Ocon's 8th place in Saudi Arabia. But it was on the brink of a 5th place in Australia with Gasly prior to the final standing restart, and now it's down to Alpine to prove it can both make good on that pace with better results and improve on it with upgrades. With the gap in the calendar after the initial run of 3 races, all teams are expected to bring some kind of upgrade to Azerbaijan. The one brought by McLaren, which holds 5th in the Constructors' Championship after its double points finish in Australia, is likely to be among the most significant, with a major change in floor philosophy it hopes will transform its season after a difficult start. McLaren has been one of the most underwhelming teams in F1 2023 thus far. Although they currently rank 5th in the Constructors' Championship and are only 14 points behind Ferrari, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri mainly benefited from the tumultuous finish in Melbourne. I am expecting to see revisions around the side pods, and particularly the floor edge, as this is the area McLaren realized late last season it was pursuing the wrong design philosophy. While preparing this upgrade, McLaren also experienced significant technical changes, including the dismissal of their technical director, James Key, who was replaced by a 3-person technical team. However, the Baku upgrade is a product of the previous regime, as it was approved months prior. McLaren should have confidence in this upgrade, as during Key's tenure, they demonstrated the ability to adopt effective ideas from other teams and keep pace with competitors. They have planned 3 major upgrades for 2023, each anticipated to deliver a few tenths of a second improvement, with the ultimate goal of fielding the 4th fastest car on the grid. But the team that will draw the biggest attention this weekend will be Mercedes, as they are on the course of catching up to Aston Martin and becoming the 2nd fastest car on the grid. To be completely honest, you don't have to be a Formula 1 expert to see that Mercedes have had a bad start of the season. The team hasn't managed to narrow the gap to Red Bull and has even been outpaced by their customer team, which finished 7th in the constructors' standings last season. Nonetheless, they have made gradual progress in each race and are now working on a new concept which is anticipated to debut at the Emilia-Romagna GP. James Allison, who has been reappointed as technical director, has provided insight into Mercedes' upgrade status. The flow of new parts has already happened. We pretty much have a different car every weekend. Sometimes it's a few more parts, sometimes a few fewer, but we've had new things for each of the races. Baku won't be an exception. I would hope we can keep that coming. Even though Allison was realistic in his statements and said that Mercedes is currently not close to Red Bull, he also said that the team will work hard to overtake them in due course, also calling them a worthy opposition. He called Mercedes' reliability and downforce an advantage over the rest of the grid. Toto Wolff is also optimistic that the team's recent achievements, along with the enhancements they're introducing in Baku, signal a positive outlook for the future. He said that regarding car development, it was heartening to see that within just 3 races, they have a much better grasp of the car. They identified a clear path forward, and he believes they're on the right track. Just need to solidify their understanding, and hopefully they can make further progress in the upcoming races. With Mercedes scrapping the zero-pod concept and starting to work on a new one, Mercedes fans should not immediately expect catching up to Aston Martin, and a sort of transformation like the one their customers had. Yes, they now have a better understanding of the car, but one swallow doesn't make a summer. Mercedes need to stay rational and believe in the team, because there will be setbacks. But the most important thing is that they are on the right path now, rather than at the start of the season when they were focusing on a concept which was simply not going to work. One person, however, is not having it with what Mercedes are evidently doing. The former Bridgestone engineer Kees van der Grint has raised doubts about whether Mercedes is engaging in a psychological tactic by repeatedly criticizing their concept publicly, particularly after the team demonstrated strong performance at the Australian Grand Prix. Following subpar results in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, Wolff announced that a new concept for the W14 would be implemented to compete with Red Bull, and the overall atmosphere within the Silver Arrows was gloomy, as both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell openly discussed the extensive work required on the W14. And immediately afterwards, they did what they did in Australia, with both Hamilton and Russell briefly leading the race. Van der Grint is actually disappointed that Mercedes has decided to overhaul the car mid-season, as he appreciated their commitment to the zero side pods concept, which demonstrated a sense of belief within the Brackley-based team. One thing which is for certain is that varied messages are coming out from Brackley, with their performance at this weekend's Azerbaijan Grand Prix set to be fascinating. I liked that they stuck to their concept, he told the Dutch edition of motorsport.com. They had a faith in that. Now, you probably think it's not such a good concept after all. Then I think, what did you discuss and analyze in the winter? Because this is a late conclusion. If you have to change now and want to change a whole concept, that might say something about the people who left. I think the sounds are more in the panic atmosphere. You can also hear that from Wolff. He has actually already given up. But that is, of course, also a bit of a feint, because he quietly hopes that things will work out somehow. Russell was also quite fast. They were unlucky that he broke down there. It can't all be in harmony there. A bit of chaos and panic. Are these Mercedes statements a charade and a PR thing, or are they really rightfully criticizing the car? We are about to see very soon. Nevertheless, the new package they have built in Baku will shine a light on a lot of things about the team, and what they have worked on these past 4 weeks, and whether they can compete for wins this season. One thing is for certain, they have to give their best, because Hamilton and their fans are not going to wait forever. Let us know your thoughts and opinions about Mercedes. Do you think they can fight for their title again soon? Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.